Now we're ready.
Okay. Everyone hear us? Okay. Well, welcome to the Greenville City Council. Come to order, please. Clerk, call the roll.
Baumgartner,
Here.
Ely, Godwin,
Here.
Rogers,
Here.
Schmidt,
Here.
Whitaker,
Here.
Wright.
Okay, Mr. Wright informed us that he will be perhaps a little late, but he will be on the way. So I ask you, please stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Forgot to announce, hear ye, the polls are now closed, I believe. So if you didn't exercise your right to vote in the primary election, which there wasn't a lot, well, you missed it. Okay, approval of the minutes. You've all received copies of the preceding minutes of the preceding meetings or meeting. Any additions or corrections? Seeing none, they will stand approved as presented. Approval of the current financial report. You received copies of that. Again, from the auditor's office. Any questions for the auditor or a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Whitaker to approve the current financial report as presented by the auditor. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Approval of the agenda. I have a couple things. I need to add an item 5. Just shared with the Safety Service Director and the Law Director earlier. Today was item 5 will be a resolution permitting us to work with ODOT for salt contracts for next season and declaring an emergency. And also I have a request for an executive session after the call of council regarding Ohio Revised Code 121.22G1, which deals with matters of personnel, and that's to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, and or compensation of a public employee or official. So other than that, that's all I have.
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
Motion from Mr. Schmidt to approve the agenda as amended. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Okay, we have no scheduled public hearings for this evening, but we have people on Zoom and people in the audience. If you'd like to address council, excuse me, please come to the microphone if you're here in the audience and address council. State your name, please state your name and address for the record, and we'll go from there.
Good evening, Pete Swissler. I live at 430 Circle Drive. I'm here to follow up on some of the previous information that was provided in the newspaper around the utility rates. I understand that the Utilities Commission has come back, and I know about 2 months ago, you guys said put the thumbs down to it. The Utility Commission went back and they came back, I guess, at the last meeting, had a reading or a motion on it. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about the rates. Bear with me. Previously, the percentages that the Utility Commission was asking for was a 68% tax increase on water. That was for just water, and then 35% for sewer tax. That was the original proposal. Then again, you guys turned it down, asked them to go back and relook at the figures, and they came back. Now, I've got two sets of numbers here. One is the way I interpreted the newspaper article, which, right or wrong, the way I interpreted it was in September of 21 this year, they came back with a water tax increase starting in September of 20% for water and 20% for sewer. In March of 2022, the water rate would go up 10% in March and sewer rate would go up 10%. And then again, in March 23, it would go up 10%, 10%. And then September of 23, it'd go up 20% and 20%. March 2024, it'd go up 10%, 10%. September, it'd go up 20%, 20%. March 20 of 2025, it'd go up 10%, 10%. And in September, it'd go up 20% and 20%. Then every year after that, starting in 2026, the rate would increase 5%, 5% indefinitely until the council decided that enough's enough, or we've got more than enough money, or whatever. So again, that was the way I interpreted the numbers. In either case, whether I misinterpreted the numbers or not, the original proposal was 68% and 35%. And by these numbers indicate 120% and 120%. Or if I misinterpreted it, it was still 80% and 80%. I'd be more than happy to submit these numbers to you folks. Just ask for clarification. But in any case, it seems to me that you guys kind of turned it down the first time, asked them to regroup and come back with some numbers. And it looks like they came back with higher numbers than what they previously asked for. So my question, I guess, here today is a couple of things. What do we really need all this money for? I mean, I've heard, new water plant 20, 30 years down the road. I've heard, we need a water tower to supply the town with 24 hours of water service in the event of an emergency versus the 12 hours that we currently have. I've heard there was mention about the EPA. I'm not sure who it was at this meeting that brought up that. Can somebody tell me of what the EPA has to do with the quantity of water versus the quality of water? There was somebody in this meeting, and I'm afraid I was zooming and I couldn't tell who was talking at the time. But wasn't there somebody in this room that said something in reference to the EPA?
So quantity and quality is controlled by the EPA
Okay.
on water and sewer.
And what was that again that the EPA is requesting? Or
They will not recognize you unless you have at least 24 hours of overhead storage.
what does recognize mean?
They don't recognize you. So for example, if we apply for a grant or a low interest loan to do anything to our water system, they don't recognize us as being a water system or a water system within their guidelines to give you those kind of grants or loans.
Okay. I have a letter from the Ohio EPA, and because I requested information from them as well to ask if, I said that the city of Greenville currently has 12 hours of water storage. Does the EPA mandate this, or do we need to build additional storage to increase the storage to 24 hours? Their reply to me was, while it is recommended to have 24 hours of water storage, it is not a requirement, would not be a violation. And that's from the Ohio EPA. So I guess, again, I'm asking the committee to maybe put the brakes on a little bit. Really would like to understand what we need this big of an increase for. I mean, this is a pretty drastic increase in our water increase. And I guess I'm just asking, what do we really need these funds for? I mean, I've heard some things about some infrastructure repairs that I don't deny that. They probably do need to be updated, some of our water mains and that. But at these rates, my gosh, this is really drastic. So again, I'm just asking you folks to, you know, I think we really need to break this stuff down and look at it real hard and try to determine what we really, really need for this community.
I really don't think anybody said anything about it having to do these things. The only thing is, if we don't do some of this stuff, it puts us in jeopardy of those repairs that we may not be able to afford that would probably happen soon. And that
What
we need
repairs?
that water
What repairs?
for the, basically, one of the first things we're going to do is replace the main water line coming out from the well field and the water department into the city. That's $1.5 million that we really don't have.
Yep.
And then the water tower, yeah, maybe the EPA is certainly going to cover at least themselves, but it's frowned upon by them to us that if we don't have that, it's not a very good idea. And that's what puts us in jeopardy of having running that water tower out of water and then having to shut down. Everybody's going to use filters and bottled water and that kind of thing for weeks at a time, or because then you'll fill it up with bacteria and
Yeah, but I don't
system.
buy that. I'm sorry. I mean, I specifically asked the EPA that question and they said, no, it is only a recommendation.
that's what I just said.
So we're going to just constantly raise rates on everything because of recommendations, or, I mean, I'm not arguing the fact that we might need a new water main line, but you know, $1.5 million is peanuts compared to what this thing is generating. This is generating millions a year. At this rate.
Numbers would it generate.
I don't think.
Yeah, I think we're putting away about $1 million a year for infrastructure on each fund. And look, at the end of the day, we can not do this. And 3 years from now, that main line busts and the city of Greenville doesn't have any water for weeks and weeks at a time.
Right.
And then everyone's going to be up here throwing rocks at us. So, you know, even with these rates that we've increased, and look, I don't like increasing anything. I understand there's folks out there on limited budgets, et cetera. But even these rates that we're proposing increase, we're still be half the price on surrounding communities.
Yeah, I'm
You know,
not
like
interested in keeping up with the Joneses. I like. Greenville.
I'm not, yeah, and I'm not saying we need to keep up with the Joneses, but we got to have good infrastructure. And if we want to bring, you know, additional industry here,
Oh, how many times have I heard that? With the new schools or everything we got to do is going to bring new businesses into the area. I've heard that way too many times. Now, I'm not arguing the fact that I think we need some increases and we probably need to look at some infrastructure. But I think what we're asking for here is ridiculous. I really do. That's my opinion. And I'm just saying, I think we really need to go back and look at what do we really need. And I'd like to see a breakdown of it. I like to see things itemized. You know, we need $1 million for this pipe. We need $1,000 for that main. You know, I'd like to see a little bit more structure in this plan. I don't see a concrete plan there.
Yeah, I don't think that was given out. I guess it probably wasn't given out to the public on their plan.
I'm wary of it. I'm wary of that.
I wish that maybe it was done before these meetings, no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, the 20-year plan that we have and what those costs are and what they're going to generate and where they're going to be used. I mean, yeah, and I do understand that the EPA is not going to give you very much information. They are, yeah, it is a recommendation from them. But we have to deal with a lot more than what just the recommendation of the EPA. There's a lot more to it. That's a pretty simple answer, what there's not a simple answer for.
Right.
You know, that's
Yeah.
they're not going,
But I'm hearing you guys say, you know, today we got 12 hours. You're saying we're going to spend a lot of money to give us 24 hours or more. Well, that'd be an awful big towers. That'd be a lot more than one more tower.
well, no, it's one time. It's one time.
If we get all these new businesses in town too, we'll have a lot more people. So
And keep in mind too, the future water tower, that this thing was in the plans 30 years ago. You know, there's already infrastructure lines and everything ran to it. The lot has already been lotted off, and you know, it's something that we have pushed this ball down the road so far, and we're at a point now that, you know, if we don't start spending some money on our infrastructure and developing this community, we're at a point of no return.
I hear you. I hear you. Again, I'd like to see a breakdown of what all these costs are for. I really would. I think the people of this town deserve that as well.
And we can get you that. I mean, we've got a list of all the projects that are in the works. And the main one right now is that main line. It's been an underground steel line since the 1800s. One line running from the water plant to the city.
Okay.
And it's an oddball, it's a 16-inch line that is not common. So if you did have to do an emergency repair on it, you just can't go out and get a 16-inch line. They don't make them. It's a special made pipe.
Now, so you guys know that for a fact. I mean, I understand it's old, you know.
Well, I would hope no one would be lying to us that it's been there since 1800.
I'm just saying, you guys are anticipating it to break, or you guys got plans to replace that next year, or?
That pipe is way past its life expectancy.
When do you expect to replace it?
So what do you want us to do? Just not replace it and wait for it to
I'm
break?
asking you a question. When are you going to replace it? Next year?
I think they were looking at replacing it next year.
Yes.
Was one of the
That's
plans
the
to
very first thing.
Very first thing.
Yes.
start replacing it.
Again,
It goes underneath two creeks, you know, to come into the city. And I'll say something on the water in the sewer is it's called an enterprise fund. You know, that money that goes into the sewer fund can only be used for the sewer projects or to maintain the sewer plant. And Dawn out there at the sewer plant, they have problems with another sewer line that goes underneath the creek and goes out on 127. And if they have a problem with that, the EPA is going to come down and shut them down.
mm-hmm.
And that's one of the projects Don wants to replace out there. And right now, the thing that I call it the stir, they got like 4 or 5 of them out there, and they upgraded those this year. He's trying to get rid of the chlorination out there that they have. And, you know, because it was bad to have it, to add that to the water, to clarify it, to dump it into the creek. They're added a UV light out there. That's one of the projects he's doing now to save the city money, because it was costing us more to have the chlorination done to it than the UV light system.
Yeah.
So it's going to pay for itself.
UV
So the
light. projects,
you know, for the water place, water plant is the same thing. It's an enterprise fund. You know, we can't go buy police cars with them. We can't go, you know, fix a street, you know, pave streets in town or do that. They have to use that money just for those funds, you know, for that place, for the water plant and the sewer plant.
I understand that.
Yeah,
I understand that.
a lot of people don't understand that, you know, an enterprise fund, it's got to be used for that. Can't be used for nothing else.
Again, this is an enormous rate increase. And I really question that we need everything that's on this wish list. Now, I'm not saying you're right. There'd be people up here with lanterns and pitchforks if we lost our water. So I'm not saying you shouldn't go in there and take care of some of these infrastructure things. But that's very important to this city. But it's more important to know why do we get ourselves into this situation as well? I really question somebody's not doing their job correctly.
Yeah, I hate looking in rearview mirror. But if we'd have done a 3 or 4% every year, we wouldn't be where we're at over the last 20 years. So we haven't done our due diligence.
Well,
You're right there.
there'll be other things that are going to come down the pike too.
Mhm.
Again, I'm just asking you guys to take another look at it, another hard look, get the breakdown in cost, and ask yourselves, do we really need all of this at once?
One thing I think the committee did was whenever they came back with that 50% to start with, we as council looked at it and felt that that was too much of an increase at the time. That's the reason that got turned down. Now what they've done is come back with smaller increases, but lengthened that out a little bit so that it wasn't so hard on our citizens of the city of Greenville, especially senior citizens.
Oh, it's still going to be pretty rough.
But it's scattered out over several years.
Yeah, but it goes from 68% to 120%. That's like double. I mean,
But if you go buy supplies nowadays and you go buy supplies 10 years from now, what's the cost going to be?
who knows what it's going to be 10
Yeah,
years from now.
that's it. So
That's why I suggest, why are you raising the rates now? And you're talking about building a new water main plant in 20, 30 years. Well, that's good to have it on the radar screen, but I think you ought to be looking at that about 10 or 15 years out. Because there's nobody that's going to be in this room is going to be on council. Nobody will ever remember this meeting's taking place.
That's a problem we've had.
30 years from now, these rates are going to be, you guys, the same people, different people are going to be sitting up there going, boy, if we'd had due diligence and we'd raised our rates 40 years ago, we wouldn't be in this situation. You're going to be in that situation.
We won't be in that situation. We want to leave it for somebody else to be in that situation.
Yeah.
So that's one of the big.
My
things.
grandkids and your grandkids will end up, I guarantee
So
you,
the
paying.
problem with thinking about that way too is that it's kind of a catch-22 is that, if we don't raise rates now and get it up to the place where we can get grants and loans, we're not going to get any grants and loans and we're going to be sitting here with no water. I mean, that's one of the big things we're looking at. It's too much of a liability.
Yeah.
And anytime you want, we can share our information with you and let you know what our program is and what those costs of all our items that's coming up down the road if you want.
Yeah.
Anytime you want.
So be it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to address council may do so at this time.
John Warner, President, CEO of Brethren Retirement Community, 750 Chestnut Street. I have some prepared remarks I'd like to address council. President Burkett, members of council and city administration, thank you for the opportunity to share a few remarks this evening. On behalf of all of us at Brethren Retirement Community, our board, our residents, and our staff, we bring you greetings and our thanks for your ongoing service to our community in the city of Greenville. I'm here to address council regarding the proposed legislation to change the water and sewer rates within the city. As we have previously stated, when we shared with council in February, we certainly understand the need for infrastructure improvement and greatly are appreciative for the city water and sewer services that we receive. We also understand that decisions of this nature are not easy to make and require a great deal of review before rendering. We would like to thank council for your reconsideration of the original rate proposal, which included a significant initial year increase that would have posed a notable budget impact for us this year. Under the original proposal, we were unclear as to if subsequent year increases would be added. We are also grateful that council reevaluated the approach to the increases and has recommended a multi-year proposal to address the operating and infrastructure needs for the city water and sewer services. On behalf of BRC and all who we are called to serve and as a constituent business in the city of Greenville and one of the largest purchasers of water and sewer services in the city, I believe it to be my responsibility to share the impact of the proposed legislation on our operations. While again, we certainly concur with infrastructure improvements and the multi-year approach to address the need. However, we would respectfully ask council again to reconsider the amounts and the frequency of those rate increases. Today, Carl Eubank, BRC CFO, and I met with Mayor Wellman and Safety Service Director Delk. We appreciate these gentlemen taking time to meet with us. During the meeting, we shared with them a proposed expansion of our Oakwood Village project, as well as we discussed the water and sewer rate increases. They helped us understand the Utility Commission's work and the methodology for the rate increases, including the proposed improvements, funding options, timing, and the term of those. We also shared with them, based on our calculations, the estimated impact these increases would have on our operating budgets for the next 5 years. In short, based upon our Q4 2020 usage, our current annual spend for water and sewer would be estimated at $129,700. Under the proposal before council tonight, at December 31st, 2025, that same spend compounded would be $313,380,000 annually. This amount of increase would be a concern for any business that has challenging revenue sources and other increasing costs to consider as well. We provided Mr. Willman and Mr. Delk copies of our estimates and would welcome review by the City Utility Commission and the City Utility Department to ensure our accuracy. We understand the importance of safe, stable, and efficient water and sewer sources. I believe that we want that for all of our citizens. We are grateful for these services and for the work the city has performed in delivering such. However, at the same time, a rate increase of this nature has the potential of a negative impact for us. We remain committed to be a good corporate citizen in the community we're called to serve. This includes the future independent living expansion, which we hope will add to the quality of life in the city of Greenville. We're grateful for the work of the city and for allowing us to share this evening. And as we stated before, going forward, we'll respect whatever decision the council will make. Should any of you have any questions or would like added information, please don't hesitate to contact me, and I would be happy to have further conversation. Respectfully and with our many thanks again.
Thank you, Mr. Warner. Anyone else wishing to address council may do so. Anyone on the Zoom wishing to address council may do so. Please come to the microphone and give your name and address.
My name is Lois Milliard. I live here in Greenville at 492 West Lincoln Drive. My question is, if they're gonna, we know we have a problem, to my understanding, we know we have a problem here. They look at it, how do we know we have a problem as far as sight, seeing it? For the sewer underground, am I understanding right? In my maybe short understanding, couldn't we fix the worst now and then later down the road fix more, later and later years fix more? To me, that is the only way to do it. I just walked in. I don't know a whole lot of what's going on, but as far as worrying about future generations and or providing for them, I think we should take care of ourselves, what we need to now, and then do a little at a time. I don't know, just whatever really needs it. I don't know how you divide that up, what might need it in a few years, but I think y'all are smart to figure that out. And it does need to be broken down. For all my years of living, it needs to be broken down. What I mean to say is itemized down to low facts, not like 2 or 3 categories, but it needs to be broken down so we the people can see this together and work together and come together. And this is money that we don't have to pay for future generations. That's not good for them. They need to work too. So I just say, get the worst and then go from there. That's my 2 cents worth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
How you doing?
Mr. Ryder. Good evening, sir. Anyone else wishing to address council may do so at this time. Seeing no one, and no call-ins, excuse me, we will proceed with the administrative reports, and thank you all for your input tonight. This council does appreciate that. Moving on to administrative reports, Mayor Wellman.
I don't have too much, but I appreciate Carl and John coming in today. Thanks a lot. Anybody out there, I've always encouraged everybody to stop in or call in the utilities to figure out what their rates would be. And we'll continue to do that. We can work on something to make sure the public has a little more information. I think the advocate got some of those numbers wrong, or the early bird, wherever they're at, but that, it doesn't quite matter, but it's to see what that money generates, what those rates will generate, and get a little more information out there somehow. We'll work on that. So other than that, I'll pass on.
Okay, thank you. Safety Service Director, Mr. Delk.
Thank you, Mr. President. A few things for tonight. First thing, our Speedway project that was supposed to start June 8th, where they're going to tear down the Speedway and rebuild, is now on hold. Imagine that, right? Again. COVID. We don't know for how long or what exactly the reasoning is behind it, but I want to let you guys know about that. On May 11th, our paving bid opening is coming up, and we're projected to do about $1.4 million worth of paving this summer within the city. So it's going to be a very busy year. And then just a few updates on our projects. Our splash pad project down at South Park is still ongoing. It is about 2 weeks behind right now due to some weather restraints. So we're pushing through to the finish line on that one. And then our UV project down at the wastewater plant is also about a month behind schedule. And that is actually due to material shortages. So we're going to keep fighting to get all the materials needed to see this one to the finish line also. But it's getting extremely tough to find different metals and materials that they need down there to get all these projects rolling. And with that, I will pass.
Thank you, sir. Law Director.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Just a couple quick items tonight. We did have that additional resolution, which you added to the agenda as number 5. That's just a contract for bulk purchasing for salt for the upcoming winter. I did want to speak to that. There's resolution number 3. We had talked briefly at the last meeting about the state of Ohio potentially opening up some additional marijuana dispensary license. to make formal changes to our zoning regulations, it's got to come as a recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Committee. What the resolution number 3 indicates is that we've reviewed our current zoning regulations. We don't think that marijuana dispensaries fit within them, but we do want to clarify that. So we're going to recommend it. Council is going to ask Planning and Zoning to make a formal recommendation and come up with some clarifying language one way or another, whether they want it or not. So that's what resolution number 3 does. And then just finally, we've talked historically about CRA programs, and you should see at the next meeting a revamp of that CRA. The hope is to add in some opportunities for some residential community reinvestment programs so that people are going to develop lots or rehabilitate some nuisance properties. They'll actually be able to have some tax and real estate discounts on those. So we're kind of excited about that and hopefully pushing that to revitalize some of the other neighborhoods in the community. So pretty excited to see that coming. And with that, I'll entertain any questions anybody has.
Anyone? Thank you, sir.
Mike.
Appreciate that.
No problem.
Finally, City Auditor, Mrs. Wellman.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. The only item I'd like to bring forward tonight is to request a meeting of the Finance Committee for the purpose of reviewing the 2022 budget. And we do need to have the committee report back by the second meeting in June.
In when?
The second meeting in June,
In June.
correct?
Okay. Yes, I was just going to bring you greetings. Mrs. Wellman presented me with a nice little request for the Finance Committee to start reviewing the 2022 appropriations. Wow. We're not even halfway through 2021 yet. But it has to go to the Budget Commission by July. So I would ask that that be presented no later than the second meeting in June. Okay. I don't have a date for that.
Second meeting in June would be,
18th?
Yep.
No, wait,
no,
wrong day.
15th.
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 Whew. That rings a bell. It better. My wedding anniversary. I dare not forget that. Okay. So will that suffice, Mrs. Woman? Okay. Thank you very much. Nothing under committee reports, and I was going to make that assignment, so it is done, assigned. And we will move on to ordinances resolutions. First, we have an ordinance, which is a supplemental appropriations ordinance.
An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021. The supplemental ordinance allows for an appropriation in the general fund in the sum as follows. Office supplies, Planning Commission in the amount of $1,000. These funds are needed for an additional advertising expense for 2021.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this supplemental ordinance and read it by title only second and third time.
Motion from Mr. Godwin to suspend the rules, read the ordinance by title, second and third time. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021. An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021.
Move to adopt the ordinance?
Motion from Mr. Rogers to adopt the ordinance. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
And next we have an ordinance amending certain rates and ordinances relating to water and sewer fees and utilities billing.
An ordinance amending certain rates and ordinances relating to water and sewer fees and utilities billing. This ordinance amends certain rates and ordinances relating to water and sewer fees and utilities. The city will switch to monthly billing effective September 1st, 2021. Water and sewer fees will increase by the following schedule: 20% increase effective September 1st, 2021, 10% increase effective March 1st, 2022, 20% increase effective September 1st, 2022, 10% increase effective March 1st, 2023, 20% effective September 1st, 2023, 10% increase effective March 1st, 2024, a locked-in 5% increase added in 2025. And the scheduled amounts will go into the infrastructure fund as follows: wastewater 2022, $1 million, 2023, $2,500,000, 2024, $3 million. Water 2022, $400,000, 2023, $500,000, and 2024, $1,200,000.
Okay, you've heard the first reading. This can stand over till the next meeting if you choose not to suspend the rules. So I'm going to assume that we're going to let that set.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the plans, is to
Okay.
have it read 3 different times.
Okay, we will move on. Next, we have a resolution regarding the marijuana dispensaries within the city of Greenville and declaring an emergency.
A resolution regarding marijuana dispensaries within the city of Greenville and declaring an emergency. This resolution regards questions that have arisen regarding whether the current zoning regulations allow marijuana dispensaries, whereas the city does not allow marijuana dispensaries, and the city wishes to further clarify that information. This resolution has an emergency clause.
Move to suspend the rules, give this resolution second and third reading by title only.
Motion by Mr. Rogers to suspend the rules, read the resolution by title second, third time. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely,
Yes.
Godwin,
No.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Wright.
No.
Motion carries. Huh?
Doesn't carry 75%.
Wait a minute. There was a motion to suspend the rules?
Yeah, we had 2 no
Yes.
votes.
Oh, okay. All right. My bad. Take 6. Okay. Next, we had an ordinance levying assessments in connection with the construction along Wagner Avenue in the city and declaring an emergency.
An ordinance levying assessments in connection with the construction of curbs, gutters, sidewalks, storm sewer, drive aprons, lighting, and road widening along Wagner Avenue in the city of Greenville, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. This ordinance levies the assessments in connection with the construction of curbs, gutters, sidewalks, storm sewers, drive aprons, lighting, and a road widening along the northerly direction of Wagner Avenue over the period of 20 years. This ordinance has an emergency clause.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this ordinance and read it by title only, second and third time.
Motion, Mr. Godwin, to suspend the rules, read the ordinance by title second and third time. Discussion. Call the roll.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
An ordinance levying assessments in connection with the construction of curbs, gutters, sidewalks, storm sewer, drive aprons, lighting, and road widening along Wagner Avenue in the city of Greenville, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. An ordinance levying assessments in connection with the construction of curbs, gutters, sidewalks, storm sewer, drive aprons, lighting, and road widening along Wagner Avenue in the city of Greenville, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Move to adopt the emergency clause.
Motion by Mr. Rogers to adopt the emergency clause. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
Move to adopt?
Who was that? You?
Yep.
Motion by Mr. Baumgartner to adopt the ordinance. Discussion. Call the roll.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
And finally, we have the ordinance, or excuse me, a resolution permitting us to coincide with ODOT regarding salt contracts for next year.
A resolution authorizing participation in the ODOT road salt contracts awarded in 2021 and declaring an emergency. This resolution authorizes the ODOT road salt contracts awarded in 2021. This resolution has an emergency clause.
Move to suspend the rules and give this resolution second and third reading by title only.
Motion by Mr. Rogers to suspend the rules and read the resolution by title second and third time. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
A resolution authorizing participation in the ODOT road salt contracts awarded in 2021 and declaring an emergency. A resolution authorizing participation in the ODOT road salt contracts awarded in 2021 and declaring an emergency.
Move to adopt the emergency clause.
Motion by Mr. Rogers to adopt the emergency clause. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
Move to adopt.
Motion, Mr. Baumgartner to adopt. Discussion. Call the roll.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
That concludes our ordinances and resolutions. One item under new business are liquor permits, notification of expiration of all liquor permits within the city of Greenville on July 1, 2021. And I think we have a letter from the police chief.
To City of Greenville Council from Chief Roberts. I have reviewed the list of Ohio liquor control permits for the City of Greenville. I have no objection to the renewal of any liquor licenses being renewed for 2021. Sincerely, Chief Roberts.
Okay, you've heard the letter from the chief. Now we have the ability to either request a hearing on this or not to request a hearing. Whichever this council chooses.
I make a motion not to request a hearing.
Motion by Mr. Baumgartner not to request a hearing on any of these liquor permits that are up for renewal July 1. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Abstain.
I will grant that abstention.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
Okay. And now the new item, the council representative of the outside committees, which would be the Community Action Partnership Board, or CAP. And I think not only, or we do have a written report from Mrs. Ely, because she is a representative. You don't have to read the entire thing. We will enter the report in the minutes, but would you like to
Yes.
capsize it or capsulate a little bit?
I would just like to say that I've not met with this group yet. They had a meeting in April and I unfortunately was out of town. I do plan to attend their meeting in July. This is one of those things that, you know, there's a lot of things that go on in our community that are kind of behind the scenes and we don't really know about them. But this one, if you go to their website, they summarize, they help with heating, they help with housing, they help with weatherization, they help people with home repairs. They can offer them limited legal advice, and then they have an education department that works with individuals to help them become financially responsible, which is something we all need today. And it to help them even start a business. They can learn computer skills. Those who have small children can be enrolled in a program to receive free books. And who doesn't like to give free books to their children? So I think that there's a lot of things that these organizations and agencies within our community, if you don't actively participate in them, you don't know what a good thing they are. I think this one is a good one. And this one is also, it works with, it's really called the Miami Valley Community Action Partnership. And that also serves Preble, Greene, and Montgomery County, as well as our own county. So there's a lot of things that go on, and clothing and food, you know, so it's a good program. And with that, I pass.
Well, Thank you for that report, Mrs. Ely. I appreciate that. And we'll continue putting this portion on then with the next organization. Any items of communications?
We received the monthly report of April from the Income Tax Department.
Okay, you all received, I think, a copy of that also via email. If there's nothing further, we will call down the council, please.
Baumgartner,
Yeah, I'd just like to thank everyone for coming up and expressing their concerns on the water. Look, I remember 20 some years ago coming up and I had an issue with a property or something. It's not easy to get up there at that podium and speak. So I'd just like to thank the three that spoke. And yeah, and I will take the comments in consideration. I don't want you to think that we just read it tonight and it's going to stand. So, but with that, I pass.
Ely,
I'm sorry. I pass.
Godwin,
Yeah, I'd just like to thank everybody that came up tonight. And like John said, it's a little scary sometimes to come up and speak in public in front of people, but you know, we do listen to you and you know, consider it. And also I'd like to, I talked to Mark, which was Dory's Hottishell's husband. He said to mention something tonight about the celebration of life for Dory is at Moose from 1 to 4 this Saturday, which is the 8th. And you know, I went and voted today, and you know, that's the hard thing. Dory wasn't there, and but with that, I'll pass.
Rogers,
I'm going to pass.
Schmidt,
Pass.
Whitaker,
A couple of things. First of all, a reminder that this Thursday at noon, I think it's at First Methodist Church. Is that right? The National Day of Prayer service at noon. It's an annual event, and Lord knows that we need a lot of prayer. And second of all, I want to thank everyone. I know firsthand that John Warner has no fear of the microphone. But thank you all for coming and sharing your concerns. I urge everyone to do so. And again, as we did before, I want to urge people to call the utilities department and find out what these rates are actually going to do to your water and sewer bill. Because I did so at the 50% rate increase proposal, and it might be easy for me to say, maybe not, but I don't think it's that consequential. My bill was going to go up $13.10 a month total with the 50% increase. Now that may or may not be consequential to some, but it would be even more consequential if we were to run out of water. And I don't want to be sitting up here if that happens. And with main line in the ground since 1893, I think it's fair to say that we could face a problem just like the city of Dayton did last summer. And they had big problems with their water department. Could happen here, maybe not. Who knows? I don't have the crystal ball. But the fact of the matter is, these rates have been gone unaddressed for years. And now it's time to quit kicking the can down the road. I know that Ryan has this project scheduled out for the next, 20 years? And these amounts to go into infrastructure funds total $8.6 million. And that takes a while to accumulate to handle these projects. Also, if you think about the fact that, you know, if we were to raise the rates 50% now, those rates would have remained intact at 50% increase over the time that we're just raising these 20 and 10 along the way. I don't know what monies we need generated and when. Ryan has a better idea of that than I do, but I don't want to raise taxes. Nobody wants to raise taxes, but This is an enterprise fund. This is the only place that we can fix our problems with water lines and a new water tower, and it has to come from these funds. It can't come from anywhere else. And the other thing is if we don't raise our rates, and if something happens and we need to get funds and grants, loans, and we don't have the money coming in to service that debt, what bank's going to give it to us? I don't know. I don't have the magic ball, but you know, we're the ones that have to do it. And we would like to have the citizens of Greenville understand and know exactly what the situation is. And I appreciate you guys coming here and taking the time to give us your views on it. It's a hard decision. It's a very difficult decision. With that, I pass.
Right.
Ryan, do you know when the streets behind the hospital is going to be repaved? They are rough.
I mean, they're this year. Well, they're in the bid, and as soon as the bid comes back and we get their schedule laid out, but I don't know. I don't have an exact date as of yet.
Okay, thanks.
Welcome.
I'll pass.
President Burkett.
Just like to take the opportunity to thank people for zooming in and also for being present this evening. Yeah, this council has a lot ahead of it, and it always has. That's why we're elected. And I just hope you can appreciate some of the things that this council has to consider. It's much more than just maybe what the surface appears. It's certainly far reaching in many aspects. So please be considerate, if you will, of the position that these people are in up here in trying to keep the city going on an even keel, and all the administration for that matter of fact. We're pretty blessed. We do have a tremendous crew of people running the city all around. We have, how many employees do we have totally? 100 and, is it 100? Right, pardon? Right around 100 personnel. And they all take it to heart because they live here, they work here, and they like it. And they're not going to do things that are going to put people in jeopardy. So again, we thank them for their service. We do have a need for executive session regarding Ohio Revised Code 121.22G1, which is a matters of personnel. And I will ask the deputy auditor to go with us into executive session. And that's all I have. So I need a motion to rise to executive session.
So moved.
Woo, stereo. Motion by Mr. Rogers to rise to executive session. Call the roll, please.
Baumgartner.
Yes.
Ely.
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
We'll shut down the TV and thank you very much for your attention.